Oh, perfect. We're happy to hear that.
I don't know why it should be like 14 people to,
I'm just gonna do some intro
Yes.
information. Just so I make sure I don't butcher it. Is your last name pronounced Cholnoki?
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Really?
You're like one of the only.
My last name is all consonants in Polish, so
Mine's super Hungarian,
Yeah.
so it's like.
Cholnoki. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Yeah, it allows for our live stream to hear. And when you do, I'm sure Sherry did this past you, but when you do answer questions, you just repeat the questions into the mic.
Yes.
We have a little sign up there too. It's like just in case. That way it's our like no worries, we'll hold up a little thing. It just allows us to live stream question. Everyone is Word to get out.
Okay, perfect. Because I might reach out to you guys afterwards about total attendance.
Perfect. Yeah, we count in-person and virtual attendance.
Because a lot of times I send like the information about presentations to headquarters and they promote that kind of. So I would
Yeah.
want to.
Definitely. Yeah, and we can email that out to you either tomorrow or something. Cool deal. Good to start. All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to see this solid turnout tonight here at our May Fish and Friends event. Here we're going to meet Maddie Cholnoki from Mission Iconic Reefs and learn more about all the work and project that she's been going on there, which is very exciting. Let's see. Perfect. Just some upcoming events that we're going to promote here at Reef. I'm sure I've seen a couple of our shirts so far back there in the back. Our Fish Out of Water virtual 5K is coming up later this June. We've got some of the information and shirts and stickers and the bib that you'd receive with sign up on that. This could be a run, walk, hike, swim, anything you'd like to do 5K from that week of June 8th through 15th.
Walking the dogs.
Exactly. Walking the dogs, absolutely anything. It's a really fun event. You get to pick a fish team to sign up for. Any horn sharks out there so far? No one? They're the cool ones. Coming up after that, we have a paddle or a coastal cleanup on June 15th. We've got some information also back there and at our check-in table here tonight. This is teaming up with Surfrider and Paddle the Florida Keys. It's a really fun event. I just did a Surfrider cleanup about a month ago, and we got over 700 pounds of trash out from the mangroves. So it's a really great way to kind of get out there, become more active, and remove more trash. Additionally, we have our Lionfish Derby and Festival finally coming in August 15th through 18th. Really exciting time. Registration is live on our website, so if you want to sign up for that. Teams can be anywhere of 2 to 4 people, and it's a great way to get out there, remove lionfish, learn more about it. That Saturday, we're going to have an event from 4 to 9 at Florida Keys Brewery. And come on down, learn some information about lionfish, and participate in our derby. It's a really fun time. Additionally, if anyone is looking to get out and diving, we are looking for advanced open water divers with 50 plus dives for our SMILE project. This is the Size Matters Innovative Length Estimates. This is using cameras and lasers to measure fish lengths. So we are looking for divers. I participated in these. It's a really fun time. feel free to reach out to anyone here at Reef, and we'll pass you along to the right person to get signed up for that. If anyone wants to join me, I'm going out on the 18th with it in June. And it's a great way to get more experience out there and participate with citizen science with one of our main projects. And it's free. That is a really big part. It is free of charge to anyone who would like to participate. Moving on, big round of applause to Paul. So Paul is now in our Golden Hamlet Club. For those, come on up. For those of you who do not know, the Golden Hamlet Club is a Reef member who has participated in over 1,000 surveys. So Paul, thank you for all the time, effort, and hours you put out volunteering, surveying. It really means a lot to us. All the data.
From scan sheets.
Yeah. Wonderful. Some final announcements. We'd like to give a farewell and thanks to our spring interns. Nick and Elliot are remaining here with us. They will be moving on to their next wonderful careers, and we really can't give a thank you big enough to them. They are essential to what we run here, and they really are just the background and lifeblood of Reef here. Yay. So. On top of that, big thank you to all of our volunteers, every one of you out there. I see tons of familiar faces. Thank you for everything that you do. Again, we couldn't be Reef without all the work that you put in. Any community announcements? Yes.
So I'm speaking from Lisa Mongelia from the History of Diving Museum. Tomorrow night is the presentation by Dr. Joseph DeTerry. He's the one who broke the record at Jules last year, I think, at this point. But it's also the opening of the coolest exhibit ever. And it is the diving the deep. So it's all about, it's all about salvaging the deep. That's what it is.
Wonderful.
It starts tomorrow, so there's a free opening and everything. And the whole thing starting, I think, at 5 or 6. I have no idea. But I was supposed to announce it. Okay. 6 p.m. exhibit preview, 6:30 ribbon cutting, 7 p.m. immerse yourself.
All right, 6 p.m. History of Diving Museum tomorrow. All right. So I'd like to talk about how this presentation was funded in part through grant arrangements and agreements from the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Florida Coastal Management Program, and the Office of our Coastal Management under the Coastal Zone Management Act of 1972. As amended, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Award number CZ617. The views, statements, findings, and conclusions and recommendations expressed herein are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views of the state of Florida, NOAA, or any of their sub-agencies. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Maddie here to talk about Mission Iconic Reefs.
Can they hear me? It's okay. You can. It's good. Okay, fantastic. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So my name again is Maddie Chalnoki, and my title is the Mission Iconic Reef Stewardship Manager at NOAA's Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And my email is up there in case anyone wanted it. I also have business cards that I will pass out at the end of this presentation. And then the person who is not with me today is my incredible colleague, JD Reinbot. He is off diving somewhere in Indonesia. So, but he is really a major reason that the online portion of this program can function in its fullest capacity. So I am talking about the online learning platform a bit today and wanted to also provide his information in case people had questions directly related to his work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off big picture and then kind of funnel into the program to set the stage for where we're going to be talking about today and how it fits in conjunction with the sanctuary at large and the program Mission Iconic Reefs at large. So through NOAA, there's the Office of National Marine Sanctuary Systems, and this currently includes 15 protected marine areas and monuments that span throughout the entire United States, protecting over 600,000 square miles of marine waters. Even, parts of the Great Lake, out to California, Hawaii, and right here in the Florida Keys. So the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary, you can see it on the screen here, protects 3,800 square miles of waters that surround the Keys. It starts around Miami and stretches down past the Dry Tortugas. And my supervisor always says that if you visit the Florida Keys and you dip a toe in the ocean, you're in a protected place. So now that we have an idea of the area, throughout the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary's management plan, one of the main themes is restoration, and Mission Iconic Reefs falls under that. So Mission Iconic Reefs came about in response to the decline of the Florida Keys Reef Track. And NOAA and its partners launched Mission Iconic Reefs, a bold mission to restore 7 ecologically and culturally significant reefs throughout the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. It's one of the largest restoration programs to ever take place in history. So let's talk about it in a little bit more depth. In the Florida Keys, as you know, you won't find high-rise buildings, you won't find bustling traffic, maybe if it's busy season, but really the main gem of the Florida Keys is a couple miles offshore, the Reef Track, where many animals build extensive lives, and people come from all different places in the world to be able to see this special place that a lot of us here call home. So Mission Iconic Reefs is really aiming to help restore this protected place and help ensure that it's around for generations to come. Again, it's a large-scale initiative that's taking place in the sanctuary, started in 2019, and it involves so many partners because it's so large and vast. We have people in academia, we have scientists, we have nonprofits, we have local dive organizations. The list goes on and on for how many people are participating to make sure that this is successful. And there's even a lot of people in this room that are here tonight that participate in different facets of Mission Iconic Reefs to ensure its success. So the main goal is to restore the reef to an ecological function that needs to happen where the reef is at 25% coral coverage. Right now, the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary coral coverage is closer to around 2%. So to have it functioning in a way where it can be a healthy ecosystem and self-reliant, we need to get the coral coverage to about 25%. And Mission Iconic Reefs aims to do that. So more about Mission Iconic Reefs. Mission Iconic Reefs consists and focus on 7 iconic reefs, and I have them up on the screen here. Spanning north to south, we have Carey's Fort Reef, Horseshoe Reef, Chica Rocks, Sombrero Reef, Newfound Harbor, Blue Key Reef, and Eastern Dry Rocks. Has anyone here been to any of these reefs before? Phenomenal.
Can we ask questions during this, or do you want us to wait?
If you could hold it till the end, that would be great. But I don't want you to lose it, so to make a little note for sure. And I'm happy to revisit slides that are pertinent too, Joe. So the goal is to help to get them to a self-sustaining point by 2040. And this involves over 3 million square feet of restoration area, equivalent to about 52 football fields. And these reefs were specifically selected. Originally, there were 37 reefs that were gone over, and it was narrowed down to these 7 because of their diverse habitats and support for human use and spanning across the geographic range of the Keys' entirety. So those are the 7 reefs that Mission Iconic Reefs is really focusing on. And as stated, Mission Iconic Reefs is massive, one of the largest coral restoration efforts in history. and it is restoring a vast area. It's creating so many jobs and opportunities for the community at a local level and a larger level as well. And it's working to create balanced use and preservation of the environment as the sanctuary systems throughout the United States aim to do under Department of Commerce. So there's all these different pillars of Mission Iconic Reefs, everything from growing the coral in nurseries in the water and on land, wave attenuation studies, growing diadema urchins, grazers to put back on the reef to eat algae that's competing with the coral, and even down to community use and stewardship. So that is the department that I fall under. So we all have different little facets within Mission Iconic Reefs, and the program that I oversee through Mission Iconic Reefs involves the community use and stewardship aspect. So now that the stage is set, I'm going to specifically dive into the Iconic Reef Guardians program. So Iconic Reef Guardians originally was created when Mission Iconic Reefs was brought into existence, and the coral practitioners and the sanctuary and the program partners said, wow, this is incredible, but this is a lot more work and we need a lot more capacity. We need more hands on deck, and we want people to know about the work we're doing so we can get people to care. And so from that, Iconic Reef Guardians was born to engage the local community, to empower scuba divers and snorkelers to be knowledgeable and supportive of coral restoration efforts, and to become stewards of Mission Iconic Reef sites, both at a local professional level and at a recreational client level. So thinking of Iconic Reef Guardians, a question that I get asked a lot is, what does this program look like for recreational divers and professional divers? And how do I get involved? And what does it look like? So with that, who wants to go on a dive? Perfect. So now I'm going to take you on a dive experience of a recreational client taking part in Iconic Reef Guardians. Put your scuba mask on, and we'll lead you through the experience. You giant stride into the warm, bright blue water. You look down, and for the first time, you see hundreds of coral trees looming below you from every direction as far as your eyes can see. You're led on the tour of a coral nursery by your trained Iconic Reef Guardians dive professional. You discover forests of coral trees, growing branching and bouldering corals that will soon repopulate the Florida Keys Reef. After a short break in between dives, you jump back into the water. This time, you carry tools like dishwashing brushes, and you help care for the coral trees. You practice cleaning the coral trees in the classroom and are now eager to try these skills underwater. The coral babies that you helped in the nursery are now planted on the reef, and you decide to come back a year later to check on them. So you go back to the Florida Keys for yet another Iconic Reef Guardians dive experience. This time, you're going to be at a Mission Iconic Reef sites. And this time, you're going to be caring for those baby corals that are now back on the reef, helping to rebuild the Florida Keys. The Blue Star operator you're diving with visits this site each and every month to help take care of these corals to make sure they can grow up strong. This time, you take part in Reef Experience, which I'll talk about in a little bit, the different experiences. And you conduct removing debris, assessing invertebrates, and assessing coral health. So now the babies, corals that are out on the reef, you help make sure that they can grow big and strong to protect the reef and to rebuild the ecosystem. So I talked about a couple different dive experiences throughout your scuba dives, and I wanted to kind of break them down. So who in here is a scuba diver? Is it everyone? Almost? Okay, fantastic. So when I use the term experience, you can equivalent it to a specialty course. So as a scuba diver, you can take different courses, and a specialty course is generally kind of a quicker course that's focused on a specific aspect of diving. Some examples of specialty courses for those who aren't divers is you can take like a photography specialty course, you can take a night diver specialty course, you can take a drift diver specialty course, the list goes on. So they're kind of focused niche areas. So when I talk about a specific Iconic Reef Guardians experience, it's analogous to a type of dive specialty. So the first experience is passive coral nursery experience. And this involves professional Iconic Reef Guardians instructors leading their recreational clients on passive tours of the coral nursery. So this means that they're not hands-on with the trees, but they're looking at the coral trees, learning about what a coral nursery is and why it's important and what happens to these corals. And this experience is currently functioning, and we have operators in the Upper Keys who are taking clients on this experience today. And I'll talk about that a little bit more about the different operators that currently are running these experiences for the local public. The next experience is active coral nursery experience. And this again takes place in the coral nurseries, but it involves active hands-on components like cleaning the coral trees. This experience is currently in developmental stages, so it is not available to the public yet, but we're working to develop it based on the coral practitioners' needs and their different nurseries. The third experience is Reef experience, and it takes place on the Mission Iconic Reef sites. This experience is being developed and is going to be the next to be put out. But this is really going to involve professional Iconic Reef Guardians divers leading their recreational clients on maintenance and monitoring of these sites to help with community science data collection at large. So they'll be doing activities such as marine debris removals, invertebrate surveys, coral health surveys, and removing coral eating snails are some of the different activities that we've been talking over. So originally, Iconic Reef Guardians consisted of 3 experiences. And then, as many of you are aware, July 2023 hit, and the Florida Keys experienced a massive bleaching event that impacted the ecosystem at large. And as a result, the coral practitioners had to come up with new and innovative ways to aid their corals in their coral nurseries. So because of that, Iconic Reef Guardians stopped its passive coral nursery experience, and the program came to a halt. And I started getting phone calls from dive operators, from friends, from locals, from people who were out of town who were hearing about this on the news, saying, what can we do? How can we get involved? How can we help? And so as a result, Iconic Reef Guardians is now partnering with Southeast Florida Action Network, or CFAN, to develop a bleaching experience. And bleaching experience takes part on the reef, and it's where trained Iconic Reef Guardians dive professionals take their recreational clients and they put forth CFAN reports. And those CFAN reports assess coral health, disease, coral bleaching, healthy coral. And those reports, when they're collected, they're put forth to Bleach Watch in Southern Florida and Monroe County. And then that data helps to inform us about events such as the one last summer. And if it's used in conjunction collectively, it'll also give us a better idea of baseline data. So this is an experience that was created in response to the bleaching event that happened, but can be used as an experience from now into the future to continue to help with community science data collection at large. And this experience is currently being piloted by Florida Keys Dive Center and Quiescence Diving Services. They go through assessing our online training. They do in-water checkout dives, and we get mass amounts of feedback from both the professional divers and their recreational clients and revamp the program before we're going to put it out at large for all the Blue Star dive operators to apply for. So we're working on that now and hopefully have it done in the next month or two. So then we are ready to launch it in full to the operators that want to have the opportunity to take part in it. Hi, do you mind? Can I, can we?
You mentioned baseline. I just don't, when you come back, explain how you baseline reaching.
Oh, yes. So baseline as in if they're not just taking reports on times when there's coral bleaching, but throughout the year consistently. So it doesn't have to just be when there's a bleaching event, but people can take part in this experience and submit reports any day year round. And that helps collect data outside of events such as the bleaching event as well. So then we can assess what's there, what's healthy, what's not. Is there a new outbreak in disease? Is there not? Instead of just in response to events, it can be used year round.
I'll ask you later.
Okay, did that help answer the question?
Well, it sounds all very subjective. And bleaching a particular coral, is it 50% bleach? Is it completely all white? I mean, what's
Yeah, any of it.
Yeah, so,
All of it's important.
so you report on a particular coordinate site, what it looks like over time. And that's a baselining event.
It's similar to a reef survey where you can, if you're diving and you're in the water, you can submit a CVRAN report on the coral that you see.
When I think baselining, I think T equals 0 and stuff like that, and then from that point on, but this is ongoing data.
Yes, ongoing data. So maybe it could be used in a different term, and thank you for catching that. I appreciate it. Hi guys, welcome. Take a seat. All right. So iconic reef guardians in particular, when I was speaking previously, I alluded to the coral practitioners expressing that they really need more help and additional capacity. So this experience, the Iconic Reef Guardians program, is different from other restoration programs in place currently because the coral practitioners are helping to train the dive operators to take clients independently of them to perform restoration work. So in the past, there's been programs where the coral practitioners are present on the vessels at all times. And in this instance, the coral practitioners really act almost as course directors who sign off on the professional diver as passing the online and in-water component to then take those clients into their nurseries, into these spaces, without the coral practitioners having to be present on the vessels to help with additional capacity. So how are we training our instructors? It, again, is very similar. When we developed this program, we tried to think, what are people used to seeing when they go through a dive program, both from the professional perspective and the recreational perspective? So we have online learning that's very similar to an e-learning. Our online learning management platform is based on a system called Tavuti, and this is what the landing page looks like. And there's content that's available to the recreational divers on a public setting. And then for the instructors, they get specific logins to be able to take the courses that apply to these experiences, since they are in more depth for the instructors. So once you log into the platform, you'll be able to see the courses that are assigned to you. And the courses consist of multiple modules and corresponding knowledge reviews to examine the learning throughout the modules. So this is what it looks like when you click on a module, and a lot of times you have a file similar to a PowerPoint file where you can click through. There's narrations for the file as well. And there's a lot of interactive components to check for understanding of learning. For the content that we developed, we wanted to ensure that it was achieving the goals that we had for this online learning. So we also created a pre and post program survey with NOAA social science efforts to assess, are these modules in this training doing what we need it to do to ensure that these professional divers feel equipped to teach these experiences. So one of the questions that we asked is, how familiar are you with causes of coral decline in the Florida Keys? And this is what everyone, our sample pool said at the beginning. So what the instructors said before taking our courses and what they said after taking our online courses. And again, another question we asked is, how familiar are you with the ways that divers or snorkelers can support coral reef restoration? This was before taking our courses and after taking our courses.
What's the end, the number of samples? How many people?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I can connect you with JD and he'll be able to provide that answer.
And these are the instructors, right?
Correct. These are the instructors. So I have up here the QR code and the URL to our learning management system page. If you go to this QR code or URL and you click courses, you'll be able to see the courses that are available to the recreational divers, the general public. And if you have any questions, again, JD Reinbot is the best person to contact for the online learning management system. But I wanted to put that up there in case anyone was interested in the learning material, because it is under courses, that's all free to the general public. It goes over information about the sanctuary, information about coral restoration, and then there's a module that goes over coral bleaching, disease, and other things in relation to reporting to Southeast Florida Action Network. So who is involved in this program currently? We have, for the coral practitioners, Coral Restoration Foundation, Moat Marine Laboratory, and Reef Renewal USA are the current coral practitioners that are participating in the program. And then for the dive centers, the Blue Star dive operators who have been officially checked off both online and in water. So I want to make sure to mention that we do have some that are still going through the training process, but the 4 that have been officially approved to run trips or are currently running trips are Florida Keys Dive Center, Island Ventures, Quiescence Diving Services, and Rainbow Reef Dive Center. So those are our participating operators and coral practitioners. The first Iconic Reef Guardians dive took place less than a year ago. And we are immensely thankful for all of the hard work that both the coral practitioners and the diving operators and all their staff have put into helping this program be successful in creating a way to promote regenerative tourism. So when we were creating this program, we recognize that the dive operators are all very different. They're spread throughout the Keys. They work through different agencies. They have different schedules. They have different crew availability. And so we wanted to make the program accessible to anyone who wanted to participate. So that's why we host our own online training on a separate platform. And we allow the opportunity for the diving operators to pair the Iconic Reef Guardians experience with what makes sense for their particular operation. So for example, I know that Florida Keys Dive Center is a shop that works through PADI as a certifying agency. And so they frequently pair the Iconic Reef Guardians trip with a PADI specialty course. I believe it's the Coral Restoration Conservation course, the CRC. That's right, CRC. Yeah, CRC. And that is one example of how they make sure that the program works specifically to their shop needs and their instructor requirements. So we wanted to make sure that anyone who wanted to participate as an operation that's Blue Star had the opportunity, and it wasn't limited to dive agency. So now we're going to talk a little bit about what impact this has had on the local Blue Star dive operators' businesses. And you can see some quotes up here from Florida Keys Dive Center and Quiescence Diving Services in relation to past trips that they have run. So the participating operators have expressed to us that they feel motivated to take part in Iconic Reef Guardians because of how it's built up their reputation for responsible ecotourism and highlights their staff's retention due to passion for marine conservation and wanting to teach these courses, in tandem with retention of dive clients who take part in a course like this and ask when they have the opportunity to take part in an additional marine conservation focused course, or even branching out to others such as marine debris courses as well. The dive operators have also expressed that they've seen increased partnership with more local organizations who are also supporting reef restoration efforts. And continuing to go off of the idea of different economic opportunities for the Blue Star diving operators, there have been previous studies in the Florida Keys that have also promoted different regenerative tourism initiatives like this, based on public surveys for both residents and non-resident visitors who express that they would be willing to pay more money for coral restoration and debris dives compared to other types of regular diving opportunities. And the figure down here shows about, on average, depending on if they're local or non-resident, how much they would be willing to pay for coral restoration experiences compared to just regular diving, and marine debris removal experiences compared to regular diving. So with that as a program overview, I wanted to end by saying that everyone in this room has a conservation origin story, experience that fueled our need to protect. And for many, we hope that Iconic Reef Guardians can be the start of that story. And with the help of the local dive operators and the coral practitioners and all of our incredible program partners, the Florida Keys can be home to, once again, some of the world's most iconic reefs as a result. Thank you all for your time today. And here on the screen is another QR code and then the URL for the main Iconic Reef Guardians webpage. And this has on it information about the different experiences, the different operators that participate with us, the different coral practitioners that participate with us, as well as information on a calendar of when these dive opportunities are available for people to take part in. And if you see a specific date, or you know people that are coming down and are interested, please send them this link and know that some of the dates are flexible based on requests. So feel free to send this along to friends, family, anyone who wants to dive and take part in coral restoration in the Florida Keys. And then down at the bottom is also my information again for anyone who would like to reach out and contact me via email or phone number. I'm always happy and thrilled to talk to anyone about the program at any time. So feel free to call, email, whatever works best for you. Thank you all. Okay. So with that, and I'll keep this information up here so that way if people want to scan the QR code and my information's available. And I think that we're going to start taking questions. So does anyone in the audience have questions? Joe?
I was just curious how you chose the reefs that are part of it. And obviously molasses and French aren't on there, which are really visited often. So I was just curious.
For the 7 iconic reefs? Yes. So the 7 iconic reefs through Mission Iconic Reefs were originally narrowed down from 37 different sites. And it was a very intensive process of researching the biodiversity there, the location, the genetics, the different areas spanning throughout the Keys. And it involved multiple partners and groups, including representatives from the Sanctuary Advisory Council. And I'm happy to send you resources that are really incredible in diving into how those specific sites were selected, and connect you with our science team, because they're way more in depth about it than I am based on my stewardship job.
Well, I was just curious. It's like hopeless to do those because they get so much foot traffic possibly.
So the main reason I know for the 7 reefs is for those areas to start as really the growth points, and then because of the span geographically, the hope is that they'll grow out and connect with each other and then be able to eventually span across the entire Florida Keys Reef track. Does that help answer your question?
Well, that's what I suspected. So, like I've read, there's like so many hundred thousands of feet stopping those corals in those two areas. It's pretty rough to make a dent in that area right now with this program.
So with Mission Iconic Reef specifically focusing on those sites,
Yeah.
the hope is that they'll grow out to those other places. And I'm happy to send you, again, resources. And apologies, I didn't repeat her question. So Joe's question, because we have a virtual audience too. Hi, virtual audience. Joe's question was how exactly did they decide on the specific 7 Mission Iconic Reef sites? Why were those chosen over other sites? And if anybody else is interested in that specific question, I'm happy to connect you with our science team and send the documentation that recorded the decisions as well. Yes.
At the very beginning, you said that the iconic reefs were currently at like 2% coral coverage and the goal was 25% by 2040. Were they ever at 25% that we know? And if so, how far back?
So the question was at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned the decline of reef in the Florida Keys and how to get it to a point where it's self-sustaining, it needs to be closer to 25% coral coverage overall. And the question is wondering if it was ever at that point at any place in time, and kind of what did that look like and how are we getting back to it, correct? And when?
How long ago was it 25%?
So based on my specific role, I know that it was at 25% at a certain point in time. And the restoration goal is to get it back to that where it is self-sustaining ecosystem. The exact date and time I am unaware of, but the science team, the Mission Iconic Reef science team would have a really good idea on that. And I'm happy to connect you with them afterwards as well.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Jim Porter. I can help you with that. We started the EPA coral reef monitoring program in 1996, and most of those reefs were at 22%.
Thank you.
96.
I remember.
And then the stony coral tissue disease, white coral.
Stony, yeah. Some of the reefs, I want to comment, this is wonderful, because what you are doing is you are preparing the public to understand that biodiversity requires effort, that the kinds of natural environments that all of us come to the Florida Keys to see requires attention and effort and cost. And I think this is one of the most wonderful parts of this project, to inform the public that we can preserve the natural world if we make an effort.
Thank you. I agree. And that's why I work in the field and I am pushing this mission forward. And it also, to your point, is incredibly inspirational. I can give one specific story, but I hear frequently back from the recreational participants that take part in this program. And, you know, the first ever participants were a father and his 16-year-old daughter who wants to go to college to be a marine biologist. And they wrote to me and they just said that it was the experience of a lifetime. And every time they want to come back now, they want their dives conservation focused. And that she was looking at college applications and she was looking at other sanctuaries and asked how she could get involved. And it's really incredible to see how an experience like this can take someone who maybe doesn't know what coral bleaching is and help them to spark passion and care for the environment that all of us know down here and interact with daily, but maybe someone who's in Wisconsin doesn't necessarily think about on a day-to-day basis. But with the opportunity of this program, it could impact the way they see the environment for the rest of their life, like it did that 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I think it is so important because people that just started diving now think this is normal, right? They think this is what it looks like and what it maybe has always looked like, and that's
More like that.
so untrue, right? So I think it's really important to bring awareness to people that, you know, this isn't what it was and what it should be.
Yes, and thank you for that. And in the sense of promoting awareness, something that I was taking into consideration, because we work a lot with the education, outreach, communication, interpretation team to develop our training. So again, if any of you are interested, please go online and look at the free resources, because they're amazing. And if you, again, it's a new program. So if you guys have thoughts or feedback, I welcome that at any point. All feedback is a gift. So, but in relation to when I was first creating the coral bleaching experience, a moment that stuck out to me specifically was being on a boat and listening to a little boy getting back on the boat and turning to his parents and saying, "Look, Dad, the reefs are so beautiful and bright and white." And it was during the bleaching event. And it really struck me. And I remember that specifically because, you know, I talked to the communications team. White can be a confusing color. It can mean a lot of things. It can represent like hope and light, and it can also represent skeletons or a graveyard. And so how do we teach people who maybe don't understand what it is, why it's important, why we should care, and what they're actually looking at? And so these educational opportunities are, again, to help raise awareness in a way that can impact people and allow them, you know, the opportunity to understand what's going on and spark passion to care about something that they might not even know is happening.
One thing
Yes, of course.
I'd like to remark is that if you look at the walls of this room, this was put up about 5 years ago, I think. Maybe a little longer.
I don't know when the pictures.
They're older.
Yeah.
So not the reefs in Key Largo and all the way down to Lou Key don't look anything like you're looking at right now. And it's all
They did
happened.
not have long.
It's all, I've been here for 14 years, and it used to look, I've seen 8-foot diameter brain coral that looked pristine when I first came down here. And then I watched them disappear.
Yeah, and those stories of seeing those corals and seeing where it is now are extremely powerful. And when people hear those stories and know about them and are able to care about them, it makes huge differences in people's lives. And that's why I encourage people to talk about what we're doing down here and the work that we're accomplishing and how this community is so resilient, because it makes a global impact, even if you don't realize it on a day-to-day basis. The work that we're doing here is impacting the rest of the world. And if we don't talk about it, nobody's going to know about it. Yes.
So I've done, as many people in here have probably, at Carrie Sport over the years, including a couple of years when I was volunteering with CRF to do outplanting out there. And one of the things I noticed in the areas that we were outplanting, just adjacent, were some other staghorn that was totally dead. So my question is, has the science caught up with all this effort with Mission Iconic Reefs? There's a tremendous amount of money going into this Mission Iconic Reefs, but if we don't have the science to support it, we're just beating our heads against the wall.
So for the virtual audience, the question revolves around, there's a lot of money going into Mission Iconic Reefs, and is there innovations or things that are happening where history isn't repeating itself and we're not banging our heads against the wall?
Right.
So there is so many innovative efforts that are going on through Mission Iconic Reefs, and it's ever evolving and changing. And one specific example that I can give that I can't talk to in detail because of my background, but again, happy to connect people to the appropriate teams. But following the bleaching event, one thing that I really appreciate about Mission Iconic Reefs is we don't give in to tragedy of the commons. The community at large was on calls with the Great Barrier Reef, with Belize, with people all through the Caribbean, trying to assess new innovative ways to change and improve restoration plans. And as a result, we conducted different kinds of coral eating snail removals from the research that we had collected in other places, collected in supporting research and data to really collectively align the efforts. There were shades that were put into place, nurseries were moved into deeper water, and outplanting strategics were altered to focus on corals that we saw being resilient through these hard times, to try to focus efforts in collective areas that could really be beneficial long term. And those are kind of high level components that I'm aware of based on my role and what I've seen put into place that's really impressed me. And again, if you want kind of the harder nitty gritty details, I can connect you with our Mission Iconic Reef science team, and they'll be able to provide really good information on those specifics. Of course. Yes.
Maddie, I've witnessed firsthand how diligently you've worked to develop this program and into an initiative that is enthusiastically approved by management at the sanctuary, as well as from a community science perspective. So we know that this is a very robust program. And I'm wondering what type of feedback you've gotten from the recreational divers so far, and how you can incorporate that feedback into making this even better.
That's a great question. So as I said before, and to repeat your question, Katie, Katie said that the program seems really robust, and she was wondering if there's also input from the recreational divers that helps to make sure that this program benefits them, and the different feedback that I've gotten in conjunction. So the example that I gave previously in relation to the father and his daughter are just two of the clients that I've been able to connect with. And as we've done pre-post program surveys for the instructors, we also do through the training, through the pilot programs, pre-post surveys for the recreational dive clients. So their feedback is extremely incorporated into the development of this experience. One example that I can give is for the coral bleaching experience that's new and just being piloted. Recreational diver wrote on the post-program form that they really wish that they had more tangible slates that they could use in the water to help them keep track of what they were doing, to then report back on the vessel when they had their phone available to them. And I take all of their feedback into high consideration. So the first thing I did was hop on the phone and talk with Corey Walters at Moat Marine Lab and the CFAN employees, Taylor Tucker and Laura. And I said, you know, how can we bring this to fruition? This is what the recreational divers, multiple of them have expressed that they need. So how can we find funding? How can we support this? And what are the next steps to get these resources for these dive instructors to be able to teach this course at a higher capacity? So there's a lot of feedback that I get both from the professional divers and the recreational divers. And through the pilot program, we assess it and we try to put into place anything that we can that can be beneficial for the program at large. So that's an example that I can give. And if he doesn't mind me calling him out, but Luke Durso works at Quiescence Diving Services, and he was actually the person who ran that trip. Could you talk at all, Luke, about the experience that your clients had?
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke. I'm a captain over at Q. And yes, I had some guests come and do a couple of these trips with us and returning to continue to do the conservation things through the Iconic Reef Guardian program. And it has been an incredible experience for everyone involved.
Thank you. That's perfect. That's perfect. I like to, I know. I'm sorry. I put you in the hot seat. I put you in the hot seat totally. But I think a really important, component to Iconic Reef Guardians is the consistent communication that we have with all our program partners to ensure that the Blue Star dive operators and the coral practitioners feel really supported in what's being put forth with this program. Yes.
I just want to thank you for all this amazing work you're doing. And now you're arming a virtual army, or not virtual, a real army, because it's just not sustainable for the Coral Restoration Foundation and iCare and these organizations to do it all, and to arm divers that are recreational divers and also create this wonderful experiential program for them, so that they know they're making a difference, a little difference in the world. And yeah, you need it. We won't succeed without more hands doing more helping things.
Agreed. And I resonate with that.
Yeah.
thank you guys for being here and caring and wanting to listen and wanting to participate and help. Because I know a lot of you are familiar faces and come to a lot of different presentations in the Key and are active, and you guys are the ears and the eyes on the water, and that is so important and necessary to success of programs like this. So vice versa, I appreciate you guys. Yes.
Great job. Really cool. I was wondering if there's been like interest or plans around like partnering potentially with schools in Miami, or like in programs for underserved institutions or something like that for these kind of experiences.
So the question was, are there opportunities for schools in Miami or underserved communities to take part in these programs? So majority of the program is still in developmental phases. And once it's brought to fruition, we have been looking at opportunities for funding to engage a more diverse audience and provide opportunities for them to come down here and take part in the program. The online learning is free and accessible to everyone. It has narrations, and once we finalize it, we're looking to also translate it into a variety of different languages to help with accessibility. Everything on the site is 508 compliant. It's in compliance with colorblindness, people who are hard of hearing, and I also always, again, welcome feedback. So if people are on the sites and notice things that can be better, it is in its first stages, this program. So I welcome that information or feedback, or if you think you know somebody that can help improve it, please send them my way. And in relation to outreach education in schools, we have an education department where we give different informational sessions and presentations on the work that we're doing. So one of the examples that I do is I've gone to some of the schools throughout the Florida Keys and Miami, and I also do virtual presentations on this opportunity. And also talk about different ways where people can get involved in their local watersheds, different activities for what people can do for removing snails. I go into schools and I create like a sheet where people have to, a lot of times elementary school kids really like this, but you have to pick up and you have to find the coral eating snail. And if you don't get, you have to place it back on the coral really delicately. And then we talk about how challenging that is if you're then diving and you're doing it and you have to do buoyancy. And wow, these divers must be doing all this really incredible work and taking so much time to do this meticulously. So we have opportunities for schools. And if you specifically know of a location or associated with a school that would want an opportunity either locally or that's not located within Southern Florida, please feel free to come speak to me afterwards, and I'm happy to help set up something. Does that help answer your question? Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, thank you, Maddie. One last round of applause.
Thank you, everyone.
I'd like to present you with a certificate for
Thank
participants.
you.
So thank you.
This is phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you again for all of these wonderful points. Thank you, everyone here, for all the wonderful questions. Really great batch of questions today compared to all of our other presentations. Wonderful. That came out wrong. You know what I mean. But yeah, thank you again. Participate in our Fish Out of Water 5K and any of our other events that we had posted up there today. If you have any questions about any events coming up, come find me and I'll be able to help you out with that. But thank you guys all for coming out tonight and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.